I went to my first Moto GP race at one of my favorite tracks, Silverstone. Here's what it was like. Whenever I go to Silverstone, I prefer to stay in London, but that does mean that you have to get up at the crack of dawn in order to make it to the track in time. For me personally, I like to be at the track as early as possible, which also meant that I had to get to the tube before it even opened. If you are headed to Silverstone and you do decide to stay in London, remember that you will need to get to the train station at London Euston, take a train, then take a bus from the train in order to get to the track. So if you are headed there for F1, remember that staying in London is usually the best because you get to do all of the fun London stuff outside of the track, but you will need to become a morning traveler. And of course, remember that rain can happen and will happen because it's London. I had to get to the track so early because the day before I had actually won a Moto GP paddock tour. I don't know if this is only happening for this series, but throughout the weekend they were running a series of contests where you could win a tour of the paddock. And it was super cool to get to go and see this series that was brand new to me in person from such a very unique experience. And this wasn't something that I got as a content creator. This was something that anybody at the track attending the race could win. While we were inside the paddock, I got to see all of the different team setups as well as the bikes that they use for their version of a hot lap. And we even got a chance to see some of the riders moving around the paddock, and I got to meet a couple of them. We also got to go through the Moto Support Series paddock as well as getting to see the Michelin tire section. Michelin is currently running the tires for Moto GP, but in 2027 they switch over to Pirelli. And as someone who loves to see the behind the scenes of the technical side of these motorsports, seeing how the tires are checked in, changed, and how controlled they are by Michelin was so interesting. And seeing how much care is put into making sure all of these steps are followed, like seeing the tires scanned in, seeing the teams bringing them through, was just so cool. I also will say that going to go see Moto GP is similar to going to go see IndyCar, comparing it to F1. The cost is a lot lower, you have access to a lot more parts of the track, and you get to see a lot more than you typically would at your standard ticket price. I really actually found myself enjoying the fan base as well at Moto GP, and I will say that for me, going for the full weekend wasn't necessarily worth it, and I would definitely go just for race day if I were to go again. However, my race day experience was incredible. There were so many activations. I got to watch people drift, and I like watching Moto GP on TV, so getting to see it in person is such a different experience. But overall, my favorite part of Sunday was actually the people that I was surrounded by. I went to this race completely on my own, which I have done before, but the people I was sitting around in my grandstand have been fans of superbikes for so long, and I wasn't really sure what the demographic would be like at the track or if I would feel welcomed. And I will be honest, I was sitting next to the nicest older gentleman who was so kind and really involved me in his experience. He even told me some of the old lore that I didn't know everything about, and by the time we saw the rider who had been leading the entire race have his bike completely crap out, I felt like I was experiencing that devastation alongside people who were at the race just as fans. So for me, I would say attending MotoGP is definitely worth it, though I would probably only go on race day, and I think that the fan base was more welcoming than I expected them to be. And it's a series that I would say is okay to attend alone. Let me know if you've ever been to a MotoGP race, if you're considering going to one, and if you're heading to Silverstone for Formula One.